My name is Timothy, I'm 25 years old, and my wife Lauren is the same age. We've been together for 4 years and we've been married for 2 years, leading a life together. We're fortunate because our parents actively support us. Lauren's dad provided us with separate housing, and my father helped with a car, giving me his 2003 Ford Explorer. This car was very spacious and comfortable, so I always took great care of it, paying attention to every detail. My father was an engineer in a large company, so I followed in his footsteps, graduated from college, and now work in my profession. Although the salary leaves much to be desired, I believe I can grow it to an acceptable level. Lauren has a financial education and aspires to be a top-notch financial consultant. She enjoys working with numbers, interacting with people, and making challenging decisions. Our first intimate encounter with Lauren happened on our first date, or more precisely, we met at a club, and that same evening, passion ignited between us. We decided to find a secluded spot in the restroom quickly. On that evening, I was with 2 of my friends, Ethan and William. William was my childhood friend, and I met Ethan during the first year of college. We were inseparable. Lauren was not alone in the club. She was with her friend Caroline, with whom my friend Ethan started a relationship. Lauren and I had a wild passion. In the first year of our relationship, we could engage in intimacy 4-5 times a day, and for us, it was the norm. Lauren had soft, curly chestnut hair, a hot and slender body. I was head over heels in love with this girl. Apparently that's why I proposed to her 2 years into the relationship. Although during that time, Caroline and Ethan didn't rush with that decision. William also quickly found a girlfriend, but we never spent time together. Lauren and I often went out in the city with Caroline and Ethan to hang out, while William always declined, saying, "Sorry, friends, but I made plans with my girlfriend to go to the movies tonight." And it happened every time, so over the course of 4 years, we drifted apart significantly. If you remember, he was my childhood best friend, always supporting and understanding me. My repeated attempts to reconnect were unsuccessful. We could see each other a couple of times a month, and those were mostly chance encounters. Ethan and I thought that William held a grudge against us because we found girlfriends who were common friends, and we all had common interests. Meanwhile, William felt like a third wheel, but we honestly tried to reach out to him, inviting him everywhere, but he always found excuses. One Saturday evening, Lauren suggested an idea. "Timothy, we rarely go out. Maybe we should go camping for a couple of days, invite Caroline and Ethan, as well as William and his girlfriend. I think it will help all of us get closer again and break the routine of our weekdays." After thinking a bit, I replied, "Maybe you're right. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I always thought it would be a bad idea that William would refuse again and not go anywhere." Lauren said, "I think it's worth trying, especially since I see how concerned you are that you and Ethan have distanced yourselves from William." "All right, my love. I'll call Ethan tomorrow and propose this idea. There's just one unresolved question. Where will we go?" I asked. How about Lake Tahoe? You can fish there and set up tents. I've been thinking about that place for a while. True, it's in another state and it will take a 10-hour drive. But we have a family Jeep. I think it's time to use it," she said. "You're right. Tomorrow I'll call everyone and talk to the bosses to take a couple of days off," I concluded. So Lauren and I decided that it was time to gather as a group and go relax by the lake. After all, it was summer, and that meant we could swim and have a good time. The next day I called Ethan first and pitched him the idea. He gladly approved, but added, "I doubt William will go, and his girlfriend might not agree. So let's plan to go even if he declines, okay? I accepted the proposal and made my next call to William. It was noon, and William answered the phone with a sleepy voice, asking, "What's urgent?" "Good morning, buddy." "Actually, yes, very urgent. Are you ready to listen?" I replied. "I don't know. Is it really important?" he said. "I understand. Get ready. I'm coming over," I said, and hung up, quickly gathered myself, and drove to William's house. Something felt off. Entering his house, I smelled a strong odor of alcohol. In the bedroom, William was putting on old home shorts, looking quite awful. He reeked of alcohol, and he didn't look clean. I immediately sensed that something had happened. I returned to the car, grabbed a bottle of sparkling water, and went back to him. While he drank water, I decided to ask him, "You don't look great, to put it mildly. What happened?" "Something did happen. Have you ever been cheated on?" he asked. And I immediately understood what had happened. We sat and talked for about 2 hours. His girlfriend had been cheating on him with her ex-boyfriend, and according to William, it had happened multiple times. He accidentally read their messages, then found a hidden folder on her laptop with over 6 videos of her cheating. William told me all this, but I couldn't feel it all. I don't know. I had no remorse. Maybe because I had understood from the very beginning that they weren't a couple, at least because his girlfriend didn't want to hang out with us. I supported him as much as I could and suggested to unwind, saying that we were planning a picnic at Lake Tahoe in California next week. He looked at me in silence and said he would call in a couple of days. I told him not to worry too much and that everything would be okay. In response, he just said, "You don't understand, Timothy. Until we meet again." Returning home, I told Lauren about what happened, but she seemed uninterested. Ethan, on the other hand, was in complete shock and said, "We need to help him get out of this depression." I agreed with him. The next few days passed unnoticed, and at some point, William called me saying, "Hey buddy, I've come to my senses. I feel so good. When are you guys planning to leave?" I found my old 2-person tent. "Should I bring it?" I replied, "Hi, we're planning to leave in 3 days, from Sunday morning to Tuesday evening. Definitely bring the tent. We'll have 3 tents for all of us." We chatted with him, and I told him that we needed more things, because we wanted to make a campfire, fish, and swim. Everyone was excited that William was joining us, and I was also happy about it because we hadn't gone on a trip together for 4 years. Morning came on Sunday, and we set out on our journey. Along the way, we picked everyone up. Lauren sat in the front seat, while the others sat in the back. Our trunk was full of belongings. We also stopped at a couple of stores on the way and bought all the necessary supplies. The trip was supposed to take 10 hours, but with shared conversations it felt like 2, and we were already standing by the lake, near our spot where we would spend the next 2 days. We actually arrived faster than planned, in 8 hours. We got there around 6 in the evening, and all that was left was to set up the tents, light the campfire, open the alcohol, and sit together by the fire for some heartfelt conversations. I disconnected from all the household chores and began to immerse myself in the moment. William looked happy, and he got along well with everyone. We first lit the fire and started setting up the tents. We had 3 2-person tents, one for me and Lauren, the second for Caroline and Ethan, and the third for William. It took us 3 hours in total, and by 9 in the evening, everything was ready. We were all very tired, so sitting by the fire, we grilled sausages and had sandwiches. Overall, we discussed the plans for the next day. It was meant to be filled with swimming in the lake, fishing, and exploring the surroundings. I didn't pay much attention, but the landscapes here were breathtaking. like being in a fairy tale. After putting out the fire, we headed to our tents. Since it was summer, it was very warm. Lauren seemed to be in a bad mood. When I tried to find out what was wrong, she just said that everything was fine and went to sleep. About 20 minutes after everyone settled in their tents, I heard faint moans. It was Caroline and Ethan. It turned me on, and I started making advances to Lauren. But she refused. It made me uncomfortable, but I thought maybe she had a headache or just wasn't in the mood. However, the reason was a mystery to me. I fell asleep only after about 40 minutes, when Caroline and Ethan had finished their business, and only then could I sleep properly. I woke up abruptly. Birds were singing outside, and I heard muffled voices. Lauren wasn't next to me. It was 4:50 in the morning, an hour before the alarm, and I decided to find out why my wife, Lauren, woke up so early. I crawled out of the tent and saw my wife engrossed in a conversation with William. It seemed that if I got up, went to the toilet, and came back, they wouldn't even notice me. I couldn't make out what they were talking about, so I slowly approached them. Only then did William notice me first, and said, "Oh, good morning. Why are you up so early? Do you want tea or coffee? We've already heated the water." I don't remember exactly what I replied, but it sounded something like, "Good morning. Why aren't you sleeping?" Completely ignoring William's question. Lauren said, "Good morning. I woke up about 30 minutes ago and heard William lighting the fire to boil water. I felt well rested, so I decided to come out and not wake you up so you could sleep longer." I responded, "Okay, then I'll have coffee." "All right, I'll make it now," William replied. So we spent an hour waiting for Caroline and Ethan to wake up, who were still asleep. It was warm outside, birds were singing, and we had a mesmerizing view of the lake. The atmosphere was magical. We communicated, but the conversation was strained. Lauren reluctantly engaged and behaved somewhat oddly. When I saw her from a distance, she looked happy, but as soon as I joined their company, she became quiet. I didn't understand her behavior. At that moment, I thought I had seriously messed up somewhere. The alarms rang, and I breathed a sigh of relief because the atmosphere was oppressive and tension was palpable. I decided that I would definitely talk to Lauren in the evening. Everyone woke up, washed up, and was ready to set off on the journey. Our plans included visiting Emerald Bay State Park and Vikingsholm, a local attraction. Essentially, we came here for this reason, and we also wanted to visit the beach for a swim. We strolled through the park, visited the Viking Island, swam, and then returned on ATVs. All of us experienced a lot of emotions and impressions. It was a wonderful place, a real source of energy. We took over 1,000 photos and videos in total, and the day left only positive emotions. But there were moments when I felt tense. Lauren distanced herself from me more and more, and I sensed her connection with William. Maybe she woke up earlier and they spent more time together in the morning? These thoughts circulated in my head and didn't let me rest. I was never paranoid, but here I felt that something was definitely off and needed to be understood. When your wife gives most of her attention not to you but to another man, you can sense it somehow. Also, when we were all swimming, I noticed how William was looking at Lauren in a swimsuit. It might seem like nothing serious from the outside, but for me, it was a clear red flag. Returning to the tents, we bought additional firewood and lit a campfire. It was around 7 in the evening. We watched the magical sunset and chatted together. While Caroline and Ethan sat embraced, Lauren and I were distant, and Ethan made remarks. "Lauren, why are you distancing yourself from Timothy? Is he biting? He joked. It's just really hot for me, Lauren calmly replied. And at that moment, William took a glass of water and poured it on Lauren. She was wearing a plain white t-shirt, and when it got wet, her intimate upper part became visible. Fueled by anger, I grabbed a cup of boiling water and splashed it on William, causing him to scream and run in circles. "What have you done?" Lauren shouted, and at that moment, William attacked me, swinging his fists. I can't say I was a wrestling master, but I managed to grab William and end up on top of him. Before I could swing at him, Ethan pulled me away and said, "What are you doing?" and struck me so hard that I blacked out. I woke up in my tent. No one was around. The clock showed 9:30 in the evening. I took Lauren's pocket mirror and looked at myself. There were 2 bruises on my face, one from William and the other from Ethan. At that moment, I thought, did my 2 best friends just take turns hitting me in the face because I defended my wife? I wasn't angry at that moment. Rather, I was bewildered because I didn't understand what was happening and where everyone was. Stepping outside, I noticed Ethan putting out the campfire. I approached him, probably expecting an apology, but he said, "Are you satisfied? You ruined everyone's evening." Why did I ruin it? William was the first to attack and the first to knock me down. I didn't even have a chance to do anything to him, I replied. Listen, let's talk tomorrow. I don't have the strength for your quarrels anymore. Good night, Ethan said. At that very moment, I heard the lock opening, and my wife emerged from William's tent. In her hands, she held a wet towel and a water bottle. The first thing she said to me was, "Are you satisfied?" "What do you mean?" I blurted out. I genuinely didn't understand why everyone had become so angry and unfriendly. "It's like you forgot, huh? You probably forgot how you attacked William and burned his face," she retorted. "What burn? What are you talking about? The water was barely hot. I'm not crazy enough to scald him with boiling water," I said, realizing only later that Lauren was dressed in short home shorts and a thin top, both revealing. It was her usual sleepwear when she slept with me. "Let me check on William, and if there's something serious, I'm ready to apologize and cover any medical expenses if needed." "No," came Lauren's sharp response, and she continued, "Do you want to harm him again? There's nothing for you to see there. You've already ruined everyone's evening, so go to sleep." With these words, she grabbed the water bottle and went back into the tent, closing it. I didn't make hasty decisions. Without responding, I went into the tent and started thinking about a plan. At that moment, I felt weak, like my opinion didn't matter in this group. So why should I be part of this company? I lay down and began to contemplate. 2 men, whom I considered my best friends, blamed me entirely in an unusual situation, even hitting me, and they didn't even apologize for it. I lay alone in the tent, replaying all the events, and tears rolled down my face out of frustration. I did everything for them, always helped and supported, never raised a hand or shouted at anyone. And now what? I splashed hot water on someone? In general, this situation threw me off balance. I just wanted to take off and go home, alone. But it was too easy. I no longer cared about anything between my wife and my best friend. What bothered me more was that my best friends had betrayed me. I decided to check if Lauren left her phone in the tent, and as it turned out, it was in her bag. An intrusive idea came to me to look into it. In her phone, I found an interesting conversation between my wife and William. I quickly scrolled through it to the beginning of their interaction, exactly a year ago. At that time, William had written to her first, complaining to my wife for a long time about how tired he was of his girlfriend. that she wasn't as beautiful, smart, and understanding as Lauren. In return, Lauren sent him her photos, but initially they were ordinary pictures, like, "Look at the dress I bought myself." And I sat there thinking, it was my gift to you, not something you bought. Then it got more interesting. They started communicating more, sending each other heart emojis, and Lauren began sending him explicit photos. Sweating in my palms, I continued reading and found out that for over 7 months, every morning, William went to my wife when I left for work. It hit me. Every morning, before going to work, I stopped by a cafe to buy coffee. It wasn't far from my home. Often, I met William there. I didn't attach any importance to it. At the beginning of my story, I already mentioned that these were mostly spontaneous encounters with him. William broke up with his girlfriend not because she cheated on him, but because she realized he was cheating on her and dumped him. And all this talk about depression after the breakup was just a lie. What a twist! As it turned out, while I was working, Caroline with Ethan and William with Lauren were meeting and hanging out together, going to restaurants and movies, and my whole world collapsed. I didn't continue reading further. I synced the entire conversation and saved it for myself. They even had a group chat where the 4 of them planned meetings. I saved that too. There were many photos from their gatherings. I set Lauren's phone aside and just lay there. It was 11 p.m., and Lauren was still not back. I didn't understand what to do. I knew my wife was cheating on me just a few meters away, and I lay there doing nothing. I tried to listen, but it was silent. I didn't hear a sound, just complete silence. I realized that if I left the tent now, they would hear me, so I had to act quickly. I gave myself 10 seconds to catch my breath, took the GoPro camera and strapped it to my head, grabbed a hunting knife, quickly cut through my tent, and ran to William's tent. I also quickly cut it from the top to see what was happening below, and there I saw the following. Lauren was lying beneath, and on top of her was William. She was cheating on me. William, unaware of what had happened, raised his head, and I kicked the tent, so it flipped over with William and Lauren. Lauren started screaming, and from her screams, Ethan woke up, who immediately came out of his tent. I quickly threw the knife away so he wouldn't think I really wanted to harm someone. He saw the flipped tent with Lauren trapped inside. Apparently, William lost consciousness. Ethan headed towards me. I didn't want to do anything to him, but resentment inside me took over, so I grabbed a stick and ran towards him. He got scared and ran away from me. I shouted to the entire forest, "I know everything about you. I will expose you." Caroline, at that moment, came out of her tent to check what was happening. I walked past her and yelled, "I thought we were friends, but now you'll regret it." I sat in my Ford, started it, and at that moment, Lauren ran out of the tent, screaming, "Timothy, please don't leave. Don't leave us here." But I didn't care anymore. I silently drove away. Arriving home by morning, I called my father and explained the situation. He told me not to do anything stupid and gave me his lawyer's contacts. I quickly contacted him, and he explained the further plan of action. At home, I took $60,000 in cash that Lauren and I had saved for our joint trip over 3 years. I took this money and all my things, then went to the police to file a report against William and Ethan, stating that they had attacked me and caused injuries. Next, I rented a place for myself for some time. The lawyer told me not to have any contact with my wife under any circumstances. She would receive a notification, and within a couple of months, we would have to get divorced. I transferred my Ford to my father's name so Lauren couldn't take it from me. Since we had no children, The divorce process was supposed to be quick. After 4 days, I was informed that my former friends had returned home, but they didn't know it was just the beginning. They didn't know where I lived, and Lauren tried to contact me to find out about the money, but I ignored her. The first court hearing took place after a month and a half, where William and Ethan were supposed to compensate me. Then, half a month later, there was a court with Lauren, and we officially divorced. Throughout this time, they wanted to talk to me, but I attended all court hearings with my bodyguard and lawyer, and they defended me. Winning all the court cases, I got a part of Lauren's house and compensation. I no longer wanted to stay in this city and state, so I planned to move. Lauren tried to contact me every day, but I didn't respond. On the day of my departure, I hired 5 people who were supposed to come to William and Ethan's house at night, knock on the door, and break the windows to provoke them and put them on their knees. A week later, after I moved, I received 2 videos, each featuring my former friends asking for forgiveness. At that moment, I decided to post all the photos and intimate messages of my friends online. I sent compromising photos to Lauren's parents, and if they were against me before, now I calmly spoke to them on the phone, and they forgave me. I decided to move to California and start a new life. I had enough money to live comfortably for at least a year or a year and a half. During this time, I want to build my online business and not work a regular job anymore. I don't know how my fate will unfold, but now I spend more time alone and explore interesting places and landmarks. I haven't found a new girlfriend, and I'm not looking for a relationship. At least, not now. I am focused on my development, and I'm confident that sooner or later, everything will work out for me. Thank you for listening to my story.